Hey everybody, it's 8 something. That's 8:06, guys, and I had a little audio issue there right in the beginning. Of course, it waits to not work until the moment I hit stream, so that was no fun. Uh, as with me as always, I've got Kira here on the show. How you doing?
I'm doing quite well. I'm glad that the storm's passed, and I'm glad that things are back to its regularly scheduled program, so to speak.
Yeah, we had an interesting haunt weekend last weekend with Hurricane Matthew coming through and shutting down a lot of things, so I had to kind of bob and weave. And it's hilarious too because I actually had my dad visit over this last week, and we wanted to do a bunch of stuff, and we had to alter a lot of our plans based on the hurricane. So Orlando area was like shut down for a day, so that was no fun. And they closed a couple events, but hey, a lot of great haunts were open. So today we're here to talk about Scream-A-Geddon. Now, last Thursday, Scream-A-Geddon did their media preview, which I was able to attend. Unfortunately, Kira was evacuating, so she decided
Yeah.
to hightail it.
Well, it was one of those things after thinking about it, I had to make the executive decision to go ahead and go up to Alabama for the weekend. And it gave me a chance, to spend time with Draco, and I didn't have to worry about that, and they didn't have to worry about me.
Yeah, so I was able to go. I brought my dad. We rocked our HauntScene stuff. It was a pretty good time. It was raining. It did rain like the whole time. So I'm going to go over the different attractions that Scream-A-Geddon offers. Now, Scream-A-Geddon, if you guys don't know, it's a Scream Park, or it's a haunt park in Dade City, Florida. That's about well, I live in Davenport, like Polk County. It's about maybe, let's say, the better part of an hour north of Lakeland, and Lakeland is the halfway point between Tampa and Orlando here in Central Florida. And I did get a chance to go last year, so we did cover this last year, and there have been some changes, and I had a good time. I'm not gonna lie, even though it was rained out. The media folks were super nice. The guy that was the GM that toured us around was super nice. So we'll go into that a little bit. And if you look to the right in this episode, we have some of the artwork from their new house, which is Blackpool Prison. And normally when I review houses, the things that I get to experience, I talk about the order in which I do them. But I'm going to do a little differently in this episode. We're going to go from the let's say not as impactful house, and then we go crazy with Blackpool Prison. But we'll get into that in a bit. And at some point, I'm probably going to end up going back to Scream-A-Geddon here. One of the interesting things about this particular haunt that you're not really going to find at other locations is, and I'm going to go back here to the calendar, is you will see that Scream-A-Geddon's actually open pretty much every night through Halloween, and then they're open the final weekend in November. So a lot of haunts are doing that. But yeah, so if you get an opportunity, you need something to do, you got to get your haunt fix, and it's like a Monday night or Tuesday night or something like that. You really want to get some scares in. That would be a good opportunity to go out and do something a little different if you haven't done Scream-A-Geddon before. So tickets are here, but one little small note with these tickets and the prices. These are going to be the online prices. If you go to the gate, I think it's like $5 more. So it is something where you need to purchase them in advance. Parking is $10. Keep that in mind. I wore rain boots, so make sure you check the weather. A lot of the haunts about half the haunts are outdoors or have outdoor elements. So I'd like you guys to make sure that you look at the weather beforehand. Unfortunately, Kira wasn't able to go. So
No, sadly.
she's monitoring the chat. So I might call on you to do some research here.
Oh, trust me, I already got the screens up because you know me
Perfect.
and research.
Yeah. So she asked all the hard hitting questions. So we're gonna go ahead and get here to the slideshow. Now, if you need more information, go to screamageddon.com. One thing I did not know until this year is it's not like a chain per se, but they do have like a sister park in Indiana, I think, and it's called Indy Scream Park. So you can go to indyscreampark.com, and if you go to that website, you'll notice it's very similar in theme and design to the Scream-A-Geddon website, so fairly easy to navigate. All right, so I had a complete adventure in Dade City. Dade City is always an adventure for me, or at least I make it an adventure, because I am never out that way. So we're going to start here. My first stop, before I even got to Scream-A-Geddon, that would be Steph's Southern Soul Food Restaurant. And I love the tagline here. The tagline is, "It is what it is. Good." That's like a hell of a tagline there. And to get here, I literally just typed in best restaurant Dade City, and I hit number 1, and that's where I went. So did not research it at all. The food was really good. I'm talking like Southern comfort food, banana pudding. I had like a fried pork chop. It had mac and cheese. It was and baked beans. It was really, really good. So if you get a chance, it is what it is, and it's good. So definitely hit up Steph's Southern Soul Restaurant. I gave them a card. I don't know if they're watching, but if you are, thank you for the great food. I got there. We got out there because we knew we were going to have dinner somewhere out there. This is about maybe 10, 15 minutes away from where Scream-A-Geddon is. So we left here. But I wasn't done with my adventure yet. I wasn't ready for Haunt yet. I had to actually do what is quickly becoming a yearly tradition. I had to stop and get some kumquat pie.
Yeah, kumquat pie.
Have you ever had kumquat pie?
I've never had kumquat pie, and the only thing I'm picturing in my head is we're talking about, someone that you could see from like House of a Thousand Corpses or Devil's Rejects, like the old, grandma's like, "Here, have some kumquat pie."
Well, kumquats are a big deal over in Dade City. So, we're going to move on, and so definitely hit up Steph's Southern. I just love the tagline. I'm gonna make that. I'm gonna steal their tagline for HauntScene next year. It's gonna be, "It is what it is. Watch it," or something like that.
Hey, sometimes the best restaurants are not the chain ones; they're your typical mom and pop ones.
Yeah, I would have never ended up here. I would have never ended up in this restaurant had I not picked it at random. I'm not saying that's a bad thing or a good thing. It was just it was pretty interesting. So then we left here and started to go to the area in Dade City where the Scream-A-Geddon is. And had to stop. There's a little like party store that's about a 5 minutes away from Scream-A-Geddon, and here's the actual menu, or here's the sign in the freezer here. So you can get a whole pie for $15.99, kumquat pie. You can get a slice of pie for $2.99, and I have a slice of kumquat pie.
Wait a minute, all this pie and Dean Winchester's nowhere around? Oh, that's so sad.
I don't get that reference. Somebody help me with that. So I was worried about this because I'm like, you know what? I'm going to throw this in my fridge, and I'm going to eat this on the show or soon after and celebrate the opportunity that I had to go out and enjoy Scream-A-Geddon. And I was worried about this because I don't know how long kumquat pie is good for. So on the back, it says this kumquat pie, which comes from Kumquat Growers, Inc., 1 slice of pie, used by December 28th of 2016. So I could actually wait and eat this pie for another 2 months if I wanted to, but I'm probably going to eat it tonight. Now, if you watched the show last year, we talked about Scream-A-Geddon. I did get some kumquat pie. It's kind of like a citrusy, orangey kind of like fruit in a pie. So I'm all about the pie. So that was fun. But that wasn't the best part of this party store. The best part of this party store... Oh, that's Hurricane Matthew. We'll get back to that in a moment. The best part of this party store was a sign they had on the front. And I kind of glanced at it. I was like, what? When I walked in, and on the glass of the front door, they had a sign that said, "No bikes, no chickens, no skunks in the store, ever." Like, that's just crazy. People must have been riding bikes with chickens and skunks, and they just had to put a stop to it in Dade City. That's how they roll. So if you go to... You can't miss this. You cannot miss this store. It's like the one store that's right outside of Scream-A-Geddon. So definitely do not ride your bike, bring a chicken or a skunk in the store, ever. Okay? All right. So I'm going to turn that off for a moment. Okay. So here's stupid Hurricane Matthew ruining everybody's plans last weekend. Thanks, jerk. Look, this particular picture here looked like a skull, and apparently this was like a live capture here. So here's like, Hurricane Matthew going, "Sucker!" But, unfortunately, a lot of people were affected by this hurricane. So, thoughts, prayers come out from...
We were just lucky that it didn't hit us as hard as they were predicting.
Yeah, it rained and it was windy. but it did not slam us here in Central Florida. So apologize. It didn't really affect our area, but Orlando was really on lockdown. They were really expecting much more of a storm. But some people, St. Augustine area, unfortunately, they really got hit hard. So, I hope it all works out. I know a lot of people, I think, in Volusia County are still without power. So it's a couple days later.
And of course, there are some people up in Jacksonville as well that are still without power, because I have quite a few friends up there.
Yeah, it hit the East Coast pretty hard. So, Hurricane Matthew, you suck. And don't come back, jerk. All right, so we're going to move on from Hurricane Matthew here. Here's one of the first pictures that I took. I didn't really mean to take this, but this was like the sky. It was a really weird-looking sky. I don't think this picture quite does it justice, but it was a very dark, like, rolling sky. It had some interesting colors in it because of the storm. I didn't really mean to, but if you look at the very, very bottom of this picture, there's a little Scream-A-Geddon sign. It's got, like, the lighting theme there. So, neat picture. It didn't start raining until I was about to walk in. That's kind of how that works, I guess. So we go to the media preview, check in. Like I said, I took my dad, and we go in. And when you walk in, you'll notice the theme right away. Hasn't changed from last year. They did make a couple changes on the inside of the park. Like they actually have like a trailer that's like a beer stand. It's not like a little tent area, like a beer tent like it was last year, so that's pretty neat. They've got lighted here. Everything has this theme to it. Once again, when you go to Scream-A-Geddon, it doesn't really look like much from the outside. You can see gouts of flame and some of the haunt stuff in there, but it all has this kind of like yellow and red theme and white with these string lights, which I thought was pretty cool. All right. So we're going to go on another photo op that you can have. And I don't know if they actually put this on a billboard, but they did send something with, like, the scarier than. I mean, obviously, I think all of us, not to get too political or anything, but I think we're all a little sick of the election already, and it's not even November. But yeah, so this was an interesting photo op. They usually have something pretty good to take a picture in front of right in the front area. So, not going to go there, but it's there if you need it. So what do we got here? We got some comments coming in. The Hurricane Matthew looks like the Hatbox Ghost and the Haunted Mansion. Yeah, I can see that. Nature News a Halloween month, so it's Skull attempted to give us some juicy destruction aesthetics. Alright, that's cool. It failed. Yeah, so, haunts are never really fun to do in the rain. They just aren't. You get soaked and you get cold and it's not fun, or it gets like ridiculously humid or whatever. But I brought a poncho, so I was good. And I wore rain boots, and that was very, very smart in this case. All right, so moving on. You'll see the lighted poles here. They got areas, picnic tables, like little campfire areas, fire pits. They normally, on a normal night, they would be selling like s'mores kits for like $5 or so. So you could hang out, drink beer, make some s'mores. I would probably say the entire area of Scream-A-Geddon is about the size on the inside, like the inner court area that's fenced off, like the haunt area. It's about the size of maybe like a football field. Think of it like that-ish, I guess. I don't know the official measurements, but and then the various haunts are in the different sections here, and they have the Scream-A-Geddon. They have 6 attractions. 4 of them are haunts, and they got like a haunted hayride, and then they also have what's called the Monster Midway, and there's just like carnival games, concession stand. They've got like zombie paintball. They've got porta potties, if that's your thing. Make those happen. And then
porta potties could be quite scary.
They can be, but I unfortunately had to use one. I'm not a fan of those either. But they've got like characters running around. I got a couple pictures of characters. I'm going to put those up here in a bit. As a matter of fact, I think the first character I saw was this guy right here. Let me see. Yes, this guy. This guy was just weird. Like, he would like follow you around and be in like your peripheral vision for like the whole night. So that was a little disconcerting. And then he would find somebody else to trail. But you can kind of see here, like over his shoulder and behind him, the puddles in the ground and the picnic tables and all that stuff. Unfortunately, it was way too wet to really get any enjoyment out of the outside part of it. But there were characters running around. Now, one of the things that I did not experience last year, because we actually were in the event before it opened up to the public, I believe, for the media preview, they actually, one of the houses, which was the Deadwoods, which we'll talk about in a bit, they had all their characters like in the middle, and they had like this like pep rally thing, and they all got each other fired up or whatever. It's pretty neat. It was actually pretty neat. And then they all walked by me, and I'm like, thanks for picking me as a victim or something like that. So it was pretty neat. I mean, it was really loud, so they really got each other pumped up. I'll turn you off. So that's kind of the theme there. Remember, this one is primarily outdoors. Well,
so definitely dress appropriately.
Yeah, you have to dress appropriately. Hello everybody. It's coming on. Pretty sure that's an actual billboard clever idea. Okay, all right. I'll have to keep an eye out for it when I'm in my travels. So Monster Midway, food, games, beer, technically an attraction because they say it's got 6 attractions, things to do. This right here, on a rainy night, you're not going to get as much out of it as you could. I really want to sit down and make some s'mores, and I want to sit there and hang out and not feel like I have to, rush through the whole thing, or at least hang out afterwards. When you do pay your admission, it is unlimited admission to all the attractions. They gave us kind of like a front of the line tour, so that was pretty cool.
Now the games, though, did they have prizes that you could win?
I'm sure they do, but I did not play the games.
Aww.
No. There was, somebody, if you're watching this, I gave a card to somebody. I don't remember your name, Mr. Guy by Deadwoods, but hello. I told him, yeah, I'm going to make you internet famous. What's a complete lie, because, I'm not internet famous. But, yeah. So hello. Let me know if you're watching. So that's the Monster Midway. Characters around, they lots of photo ops, that kind of thing. They're really good about taking photos. Just make sure you bring flash. Okay. So here's one of the characters here. Here's me in my awesome limited edition HauntScene t-shirt. So this is a guy. I don't remember what this guy had going on as far as scariness goes. Maybe he was just a random person having a crappy night. I don't know, but I had to get a picture with him. And you can see in the background here, one of the reasons I had these pictures taken was because I wanted to show like the kind of the theme of the event if you've never been. And this does it. I love the string lights. I mean, that aesthetic does it for me. Kim?
It actually has, just from the photos, that 50s, traveling circus, almost similar to a whole freak show ordeal for those who are obsessed with American Horror Story like I am.
Yeah. So here's the guy. And then, unfortunately, one of the things we were not able to do, based on the weather, was the Cursed Hayride. And this is their haunted hayride. And last year we were able to do it. And, when Courtney and I went, we had we went on it, and it seemed like really disjointed. Like it didn't seem like the effects matched the story, and it was just kind of disjointed. But when I was talking to Adam, who was touring us through the event, Adam Sella, who's the GM, he said that they had fixed a lot of that. So this is like I don't have a grade for this because we weren't able to experience it due to the weather.
But I can read what's written on the website.
Or that too, like the backstory.
Yes. The residents of a town cursed with immortality have wanted to die for years, but their attempts to reach the afterlife have been in vain. In order to escape their never-ending torture, they must replace their soul with yours. Ride the wagon through Cursed Hayride and witness the horrifying sights and sounds of the doomed souls. But remember, they want your life and your soul.
Normally that's a big rule of mine not to eat during the show because I find it's very unprofessional. But this is a damn good kumquat pie. You want a bite?
I'm good.
Okay. Alright, I'm not going to eat it anymore. I'm going to ration out my kumquat pie. Alright, so we didn't get a grade on this, but when I asked, this was one of the first questions I asked before we even got into the tour. I was like, well, what, if we're not going to be able to do this, what were the differences between last year and this year? And it's funny because if you actually go and look back at the episode from last year we covered Scream-A-Geddon, we did give some feedback based on our Cursed Hayride. And to me it sounded, I don't know, maybe they're watching the show, but it sounds like they actually took a lot of that feedback, maybe it was common feedback, and they decided to apply it to the event because from what they were telling me, it sounded like they fixed a lot of the timing and streamlined the story a little bit. So if I do get a chance to do Scream-A-Geddon again, I definitely want to check out the Kristen Hayride to see what they did with it here. So, and I don't know about you, but that cowboy looks familiar. It's like Dennis Hopper or something like that. And it's funny because I've been watching Westworld on HBO, and they've got like Ed Harris as an evil cowboy. So yeah. So to be determined, Kirsten Hayride. If you guys have done it, you have any feedback, let me know or shoot us a tweet or something like that. So or HauntScene is pulling strings to better haunts. Maybe we are. Okay. Yeah. Hey, that isn't the first thing though, because there's been a couple things where we had feedback and then they fixed a lot of things last year. So maybe people watch the show. All right. So I'm gonna move on from this one. And then we're going to go to Bedlam 3D. And this kind of... I'm not going to say I didn't enjoy myself, because it doesn't take much to make me enjoy a haunt. I hope when they come back next year, because I think we had a discussion at the end when they were doing like the wrap-up meeting afterwards. I think they're going to end up like tweaking the event, because they actually tweaked it from last year to this year. And Bedlam 3D, I don't... Clowns don't do it for me. They just don't. I guess if you have like caulophobia or coulrophobia, whatever it is, and you are afraid of clowns and they're afraid of that aesthetic, this house is probably terrifying for you. Now I have another phobia, which another house addresses, which kind of made up for it. But I gotta admit, and this is not specific to Scream-A-Geddon, I'm over 3D houses, man. We have one at Howl-O-Scream, we got one at Horror Nights, we got one here, and my brain just doesn't, it's not appealing to me.
I've just gotten to the point to where I no longer put on the 3D glasses, because I want to actually see the house and not run into something.
I mean, they give you like legit 3D glasses. I mean, I don't want to say like I didn't have a good time, but I'm just gonna go ahead and say like this was my least favorite. Maybe it was because we went last year and did it twice, and the first time I went through it was all right, but it just didn't do much for me. So I love you, Scream-A-Geddon. It just didn't really do much. So if you're gonna swap one out, make it Bedlam, go away. But characters, you guys tried. I'm not. I hate to say something bad about a haunt. It's just this thing, the blacklight, the 3D, the clowns. I'm just over it, man.
Well, that's because we're oversaturated with it.
Yeah, so it's not your fault. It's just there's just a lot of. I mean, if everybody's serving you kumquat pie, eventually you're gonna get sick of it. So that's how I feel about that. So, but it was all up from here, and this is just a personal experience. You may go and go through Bedlam 3D and put on the legit 3D glasses and have an amazing time. That's just me being, I don't know, like an old man, like get off my lawn 3D or something like that. I don't know. So, moving on to Bedlam, or from Bedlam, hopefully forever. We go to Infected. Now, like I said, I'm not doing these houses. I'm not reviewing them or talking about them in the order that I did them. It's just the order I feel like I want to talk about them. So, yeah, when you run your own show, talk about things in whatever order you want. But never mind. So, Infected, okay? Now, Infected, lots of changes, lots of little tweaks from the last year. They did change some of the sight lines and the pathing a little bit. This is also something that they made interactive this year. And interactive at Scream-A-Geddon means that you can opt in, and they give you a glow necklace that you don't get to keep, unfortunately. But if you put on the glow necklace, you are saying it's okay for the characters to touch you and reroute you and kind of mess with you a little bit more than if you're just going through and observing. And
well, the backstory for this is actually very fascinating and something that could possibly take place in real life. I'll go ahead and read it from the website.
Read it.
Shortly after the landing of a large meteorite in a farmer's cornfield, an unexplained phenomenon began to make the locals act peculiar. Reports of their aggressive and irrational behavior caught the attention of authorities, and a special government containment team was deployed to study, analyze, and quarantine. Not long after deployment, communications were lost and the team's fate is unknown. Try to control your terror as you weave your way through fields, military tents, and the farmhouse to confront the creatures within. Will you be the next one infected?
I think I was. And I had fun with this one. I got a couple small things about it. I did the interaction here because I'm a glutton for punishment. And in this one, as opposed to the Blackpool Prison, which is their new house, which we'll be talking about here in a moment, the interaction wasn't much. Like, it was just kind of like there are different paths, and they would separate you from your group. Now, I could see why that would be terrifying for somebody, because some people do not like to be separated from their group, strength in numbers, that kind of thing. But it was different. Like they had like a doctor guy sat down and talked or whatever. I think they're still kind of getting their script and their flow going a little bit. But and then I ended up back with the group, so they just kind of separate you off here and there.
But see, horror movies tell you never go anywhere alone. I mean, even Scooby-Doo taught us that.
Yeah, but I don't have any control over that. It's scared, just kind of like redirecting you to different areas. Now, last year they had this like rock, this like it said in the backstory, like this comet that hit the ground. And last year there was like some like religious zealot like worshiping it and talking about it, which I was pretty impressed with. This year they've got a guy in a radiation suit. And here's one little. I like the house. It had its scary moments, and I'm not gonna say anything bad about it. But one little tweak I would make, and not to be too much of a spoiler, but it's like right as you get the sight line to look at one of the cool set pieces, like where this rock is, and they've got it like taped off with caution tape, and it's blacklit, and it's really really neat. Like the interaction took me away from that, where I didn't get to experience that part of it. So I saw it like in passing. Oh, that's neat. They changed it, and then one of the guys was directing me there. So if I had to give a little bit of feedback here, great house, lots of fun. I probably would skip the interaction on that particular part though, because you want your audience to see the set pieces that you put out for them. However, after that, you end up in this house. They've got like a facade of a house, and you end up walking through this house, and they were getting me. They were scaring me left and right. And I am not easily startled in the houses. Like it takes like a good scare or a good angle. I mean, they were like coming up from underneath and coming down from the side, and they were taking really weird angles. So whoever designed the actual scares in the second half of this particular house, bravo! That I got to give it props to you, because man, there was like this. I don't want to spoil it, but there was this one part where there's like this little crevice thing, and man, somebody came up and I jumped like out of my skin. So good on you. I will admit, like some of the best scares that I got last year, not all of them, but a couple of like the really good ones, I did get at Scream-A-Geddon. So you do different events, they affect you different ways. But Infected was pretty solid. At the last part, there's like I wouldn't call it a maze, but there are different paths you can take. I think the scarectors seemed a little uninterested in participating at that point. So I think one guy was like trying to hook up with another chick or whatever, and hey, that's cool. You do what you got to do with that chainsaw. But early in the event, rainy night, everybody's kind of over it, but yeah. No, you're not getting an echo, Diego. Everything is amazing. If you're getting an echo, it's just because I'm being so loud and Kira's in the next room. So, let's see what we got here. Got you good. One run through. Can't do reruns all the time. Is the yelling goth guy still there? No, he's not. They replaced him with a scientist. Okay? Alright, so Infected was good. I do recommend to... I'm torn on this one. Like I always recommend, if you have the ability to experience anything additional from a haunt, like an interactive experience or something like that, I usually recommend to take it. But in this one, I think the set pieces are a little bit more important. So until they kind of meet in the middle with that, I would probably say it's up to you on whether you want to do the interaction or not. I really think they could do some effective things with it, but they couple little miscues here and there, but like I said, early in the event. So that was Infected. So we got a couple haunts left here, and one of the things that I was really happy with is the changes to Deadwoods. And last year It was walking along a very dark path with a glow stick, with very few LED lights, walking through a very dark path through the woods, and people jumping out and scaring the absolute poop emoji out of you. Like, it was just crazy. And this is probably the one that got me the best last year, because, you know, there are like little cabins you go through different scenes, and I got through, I think, like the first or second cabin, and man, I was like, you know, a lot of times, and you do this when you do haunts, you get through a certain section, you breathe a sigh of relief. That's like when you're most vulnerable, because man, this girl popped out and she scared me so bad I like stiffened up, like it was bad. You know you've gotten scared when you hurt yourself. So pretty solid. This year, little different. This year, in Deadwoods, same story. Do you want to read the story?
Oh, of course I do.
Yes.
This small corner of Barrowstone National Park is avoided by locals because they know the story of the Tate family, who have called these woods home for 5 generations. The Tates have guarded their land fiercely ever since the federal government claimed it for the national park. Isolated for decades, the only folks to see the Tates these days are the unlucky travelers who experience car trouble or lose their way. To find your way out of Deadwoods, you'll have to navigate through the wooded trail, discovering different members of the Tate family in their cabins, workshops, and outhouses. But if you happen to encounter the Tate brothers, you'll wish you stayed on the main roads.
Yeah. So, I mean, if let's say the family's like, you know, crossing genes, does that still count as generations? Because that could be a lot of incest right there. I'm just saying. I mean, I don't know how they roll in Dade City, but it was a little crazy. I was thinking about, like, technically, would it be the same generation if it's like your aunt and your sister at the same time? I don't know. It's crazy. So we won't go into that. That's for a discussion for another night. But at Deadwoods, it's not as dark as it was. They added more lights along the path. They did this so you can barely see all of the absolute creepy stuff that they stuck along the path. Like, they've got these mannequins, and they've got like this riding horse, and I'm pretty sure they like pulled something off a merry-go-round. It is super creepy because you can barely see this stuff in the dark. Very effective change. Very cool. You see I mean, because, you know, normally when you're walking through the woods, you know, you see an outlined shape of a person. You're like, oh my God, is that guy gonna come get me or whatever? And a lot of times they're just standing there. Maybe it was a character standing there. I don't know. But the mannequins and the creepy stuff that they put in there, it's like they took like a dump truck full of the creepiest items ever, and they just drove it along the path and dropped stuff off every once in a while because it's super creepy. So I do like the changes to Deadwoods this year. I was really impressed with the changes. I mean, you still get a glow stick. You're still dealing with the Tate family. You know, there's people trying to get you to save them or whatever, and still dark, but dark and creepy and ominous.
So is this one completely then outside? Because that's what I'm getting by the description.
Yes, it is completely outside. So dress appropriately. Ladies, and I've seen this a lot this year, why are you wearing sandals? And why are you wearing the sandal boot thingies, man? I couldn't pull those off. I've seen some of the females this year wearing some crazy footwear. You need to wear closed-toed shoes at this particular haunt, or you're gonna like get bit by a rattlesnake or something. I don't know. It's crazy. Would you say Deadwoods got better or worse for this year? I would definitely say it got better, Diego. So yes, this is definitely an upgrade here, Deadwoods. All right, so we are going to move on to. I'm like nervous to talk about it actually. The final haunt, which is Blackpool Prison. This was Pandemic last year, which was an interactive experience. Once again, infected folks, and I like the chaos of it. You know, it was just kind of zipping around. People put you in different chairs, and it was just kind of wild and chaotic. It was cool last year, but they completely ripped that out, and it's a brand new haunt this year, and it's called Blackpool Prison. And as I said earlier, with the Bedlam 3D and clowns and black lights and all that stuff not affecting me, maybe I'm just not afraid of clowns, or maybe I'm not affected by black light stuff. It just doesn't do anything for me. Holy crap, was I scared off my ass in Blackpool Prison, and it was right away. Like, it was not like, it was like one door in. This is also an interactive, like, holy, it's like an interactive haunt times 10. If you want the full prison riot, get shanked experience, go interactive. Make sure you get that glow necklace for Blackpool Prison. Uh, I'm not getting nervous thinking about it because this one, like,
Here, let me just go ahead and
oh yeah,
read about it. Yeah.
breathe.
Blackpool Prison was where they sent the truly horrible criminals, high security for the worst of the worst, at least until the blackout. The prisoners rioted. Once they had control, they realized they had nowhere else to go. Now the inmates control the prison, and the only way to get out is through them. Now, keep in mind, though, according to Scream-A-Geddon's website, if you really want to be in the interactive portion, you have to be at least 18 years of age to mark yourself.
Yeah, I met that requirement. So, so I'm like, you know what? And I went like all in. I was like, I had my HauntScene shirt on. I took my poncho off. And I set my camera back down. I'm like, do this, right? And you walk in there's like nothing. It's like a wall. It's like a prison on the outside. And you go in. It's got like barbed wire at the top. I think I got a picture here of like the logo. There it is, Blackpool Prison. So you go into this haunt. And I have got my glow necklace in. Of course, nobody in my party does this interactive stuff but me, so I'm doing this crap alone. And almost immediately, I am shifted off to another cell. And at this moment, I realize that I have made a mistake. They put me off in another cell, and they shut the bars. And this is like where you are self-aware enough to you're like, oh my god, I'm so scared right now, I'm developing a phobia. And I looked it up, and I couldn't quite come up with the right phobia, but there's a phobia of being incarcerated, or, you know, I'm already claustrophobic, but, like, they're, like, shut you in. And I'm like, crap. And I'm like, well, do I wuss out right now and take this stupid thing off, or do I keep going? Like, I was like, I am uncomfortable right now. And there are, like, these little alcoves you have to go through, and any sort of prison cliche you can think of, hooch, people making alcohol in the toilet, it's in there, and it's all filled with very large guys. I'm going through it, and they're just kind of like shoving me into cells. There's like an incinerator at some point that you have to like go in. I was uncomfortable because I was so afraid, and I'm not even like a quarter of the way through this thing. And I'm like, this is going on forever. And one thing about haunts is when they really get you, time slows down. I'm sure that it probably took me about 8 to 10 minutes to get through this haunt. It felt like an hour because I was horrified. We go through, and at one point, you know, you go through like the mess hall, and there are like these bodies of the guards and whatever, and it is dark. It's dark and dingy as though the power went out during a prison riot. And at one point, because I was interactive, I feel stupid for this, somebody put me in like a dentist chair, which I'm pretty sure was in the pandemic last year. And like he had, I don't know what the hell it was because it was so dark, but it was some sort of shiv. Some sort of shiv. Like, holy shit, I'm going to get shivved. What if this guy's having a bad day? What if I'm not going to make it out of here? So I'm like laying in the chair, and he's like waving the shiv. I don't ever get this scared, but it happened twice in this house. I got so scared I closed my eyes. I never do that. Like I always want to see what's going on, but the guy waving the freaking shiv in my face, like, or wrench or whatever the hell it was, scared the absolute crap out of me. So I'm not even done. Like, at this point, I'm like, okay, you know, I'm looking at my watch, although that doesn't do any good because, you know, time is suspended apparently. And I'm being passed around in the prison. I'm being passed around. I'm hoping to God one of these scenes is not a shower scene because I don't want to be in the shower scene in Blackpool Prison. So there wasn't one of those, thankfully. If I just gave you an idea, please do not do that or I will die of a heart attack. So I go
I'll take that scene for you.
You can do that. So, you know, at some point you end up, I don't want to give away too many spoilers here, but if you have a fear of being locked up or being in a prison riot, this house is terrifying. Last part, most terrifying part of this thing, and this is kind of what I took away from this particular haunt. I got maybe like the 3/4 mark, maybe a little bit further than that, and I had my hat on, and like one of the prisoners like took off my hat. Well, I got the stupid interactive thing around my neck, so I guess they could do whatever they want with me. And like I see, he takes my hat, and the guy, it's so dark, he walks like 3 steps and he's gone. I'm like, son of a, I'm like, I have to go after this thing now. This is like one of a kind. So I go, and he's like, I don't remember what he said because I wasn't hearing words. I was just hearing like fear. And he handed it to this guy in a cell, and he handed it to the guy in the cell, and I get put in the cell with the guy. Now I am not a small human being. I'm not a small person, but I ended up, and I don't know how to say this other than how I'm going to say it. I ended up in a very small cell with a very large African American man in my face with my hat. That scared the crap out of me. And he's like in my face, like talking all this smack and shit. And I'm like, oh my god. Sorry, I'll beep that out later. Apparently, like, and it was terrifying. I'm pretty sure I peed a little bit in my pants. It was that. I'm so glad it was raining outside because it was just like I'm like this is pretty crazy. So haunts are interesting because I go through everything. But when you get that one haunt that really speaks to what you're actually afraid of, that's when a haunt succeeds. So I have to give it up, guys. This is probably not... I have love for all haunts. I try to toe the line. I try to be supportive. This is one of my favorite new houses this year. I'm going to go ahead and just say that. So this is a must-do. This is a must-do when you go to Scream-A-Geddon, and make sure you do the interactive version of this, and good luck. And bring cigarettes to trade for prison goods or something like that. So yeah. So I've been waiting like all since last Thursday to talk about that. So it's been like almost a week. So Blackpool Prison is a little cray cray. All right. And once again, somebody else might go through this one and be like, "This isn't crap," because I'm not afraid of prisons or prison riots. So I guess it's relative to the person. So yeah, Blackpool Prison, freaking scary when you do the interactive version. So good luck. I shouldn't have said anything. I should just let people do it. But yeah. All right. So what else we got here? Let's see. Here's me with Vanessa. Vanessa, if you're watching, she's one of the media people at Scream-A-Geddon. Her and I exchanged a lot of emails back and forth. So thank you for all the information. She also corrected me on Adam Sala's name because I didn't want to butcher that. So this is the little holding area. We're all like super soaked, and they did like a little pre-tour and a post-tour in case we had any questions. In the background here, if you look over our shoulders, you can see the front of Bedlam. It's all 3D. It's all blacklit, that kind of thing. So that was pretty neat. What's next? Here's me with the tour guide. So this is Adam Sala. He's the GM of Scream-A-Geddon this year in Dade City. And I think he has other titles too, but he's the actual one that walked us through the tour. Answered all the questions. Very nice guy. Thank you so much. Really kind of made the experience a lot of fun. So thank you. And I also got a picture at the end. I believe the owner Benjamin showed up. I answered a couple questions, reiterated some of the information. So just got a quick picture with me. As you can see here in the background, this is kind of the layout here. If you look on the left-hand side, that's like the beer serving area. And if you look on the right, I think that's like the games, kind of where they start. And you can see this guy to my right walking around about to step in a puddle. He had they had a bunch of characters walking around, so that was pretty neat there. So what else? All right, and we're back to Steph's Southern Soul Restaurant. It is what it is. Good. Calm down, John. Okay. So we have a new segment to the show we're adding this week. This is going to be called Ins and Odds. And I got to add you in here. Give me 1 second here. Apparently, when I had to do a quick restart there, it didn't like that. So give me 1 second. And disco. There you are. Let me put you back in a box there. There you go. Excellent. So anytime we do something that doesn't fit in a show, or I can't do an entire show around smaller experiences or things that I just happen to do, I'd like to kind of stick it in at the end of an episode called Ins and Odds, or the opposite of odds and ends or whatever. One thing I was able to do, not this last Friday, but the one before, was the actual repository experience at at Halloween Horror Nights. So before we get into this, I just want to say, Scream-A-Geddon, thank you for having me out or having the show out. We look forward to doing it again. If you have not had a chance to do Scream-A-Geddon, if you've never been, it's definitely worth checking out. Tickets aren't so bad. So depending on where you are, if you have a question about what haunt you should do, ask me personally, and I'll give you a recommendation based on where you are in your budget. But I had a lot of fun at Scream-A-Geddon. They also let us take a shirt home. So they got a lot of new shirts this year. So the one that they gave us is actually pretty cool. It's got the Scream-A-Geddon logo on it with the skull. So that's pretty cool. I don't know if you can see that. There it is, Scream-A-Geddon. So I like it. It's pretty neat. I wanted to buy a shirt last year, but I wanted to buy the shirt that the security guards had, and they wouldn't sell me one. So, yeah. All right, moving on, because I don't want to take up too much of everybody's time tonight. The repository. I know some folks, some of my friends have done the repository. Yes, I beat the repository. Spoiler alert. And I crushed it. So, repository. You and 3 others will find yourselves isolated in an ancient warehouse, left to your own skill and quick thinking to solve this haunting real-world horror experience's mysteries. Why is the former Scottish armory built in 1775, just before the American Revolution, still in use today? What does a tragic fire in Scotland in 1795 have to do with the events more than 2 centuries later? Is the Grim Slough curse real? Do you dare risk finding out? And then it talks more about the repository here. Now, you can get all the information on HalloweenHorrorNights.com. This experience is $49.99. I'm going to go ahead and say it was worth it. I did not do this character dining, and I unfortunately, like I said, I had to cancel the Unmasking the Horror Tour because they're not letting you take pictures this year. This is a combination real interaction and virtual reality experience that lasts about a half an hour. And it's pretty neat. Now, Kira and I actually met at Halloween Horror Nights 23 because we were all part of the Legendary Truth. And I thought about this. I was having a conversation with my dad. Most of my friends through Horror Nights, I met through the Legendary Truth. So years later, we're all still LT dorks. So if you guys are listening, please bring back like the games and stuff because we had a lot of fun with that. So
yeah, I actually, when I was unpacking stuff and setting up my sewing studio, I found a lot of my lanyards and my buttons, and when we had to go around and with the RIDF chip cards and get the points and stuff.
Yeah, so it was pretty. It's a good experience. Now you can fail, but I was able to succeed. So pay attention to all the clues they give you. They're a little heavy-handed with them. Make sure your brain's working. Don't show up trashed, or you might fail. I don't really want to go into like spoilers. I'm just going to go ahead and say it was worth it. It was fun. When the VR part, I'm just going to go ahead and give you a little tip. Make sure you keep your mouth closed. You'll know why when you get there. But that's
good to know for when I eventually get a chance to do it.
Yeah, the virtual tour. What am I saying? I'm like class or something like that. The VR. That's what I'm talking about. The virtual reality. Virtual reality is really good, really impressive. There were some oh crap moments. I have a pretty good equilibrium, but one part made me feel like I was going to fall off something, so good on that. Worth every penny here. Let me see what else I got here.
Well, it's also one, correct me if I'm wrong, but you can tell that everyone who's worked on this, like, you can tell they've worked really hard.
Yes, yeah. So Matthew Miller, Rick Spencer, TJ, you guys did an excellent job. I'm sure there are more of people involved with that. Those are the people I could think of off the top of my head. Great job on this. Now, it almost feels like the last few years have been building up to what they had for an experience this year. So I'm hoping this is something they can continue on in the future. So I had to break out my stringo I had here. So this thing, as I posted on social media, this thing does not get dusted off unless something's going down. So that was pretty cool to wear that hat again. I think I got it here somewhere. Yeah, I do. So yeah, this bad boy right here. I also have the snow cap, which I hardly ever wear because it's too freaking hot in Florida.
I found my hat.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's currently sitting on one of my wig heads.
Oh.
Yeah.
So, if you don't know, Legendary Truth came out, it's been around for a long time, but in 23 it really kind of came together. There were huge interactions in the park, places to scan a badge they gave you, got points, it was really competitive. There were different factions. The different factions all had to represent a different color, or vice versa. You'll need to know that. So if you do have some LT knowledge, you get to cheat a little bit just because you have some background knowledge. That helped a little bit. But even if you don't, you'll still have a good time. So it's definitely something that you got to do.
And you can always research it too.
And you can always research it. Now, these gargoyles here that have appeared all over Horror Nights, I believe these used to be on the original Universal Archway. I think. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. But these guys are synonymous these days with the Legendary Truth. So if you ever see these out in the park somewhere, in this case it's in front of the Blue Man Group Theater in the VIP area, you know that something's going down with the Legendary Truth. So here's the little lion icon on the right. So there's that. I think I got another picture over here. Here's the warning sign. Just kind of warns you here that you're doing an experience very similar to all the other haunts at Halloween Horror Nights. This is probably my favorite part, is the actual badge they gave you. Being that, we are Stringoites and our color is red, they came by and they're like, what color do you want? And I was like, red! I'm like, I'll fight you for red. So we got red, so that's good. I didn't have to fight anybody. But it's got the Legendary Truth logo in red. I think a lot of Legion people, or a lot of our friends, probably go for the color of their Legion, but I got mine, so that's cool. What else? Here's the back of it. Just talks about the event here. This is a separately ticketed event, something you have to reserve a time slot on, so you can get all that done at HalloweenHorrorNights.com. Here's the end. If you pass it, you probably think if you pass it or fail it, they give you this photo op. So here's one of the crazy people. It's got a bunch of little props and things, boxes and stuff that you could take a picture at the end. They do I had this picture taken with my phone, but I think they have a photo pass or whatever the universal equivalent of that is to get a photo at the front. Yep. And then the only other thing I'm going to talk about on this show before we start to get out of here is I did get a chance to do the zombie outbreak. And if you've never done the zombie outbreak before, there are a couple things you should know. One, if you go in on the there's a billboard on I-4 that has zombie outbreak, and it says if you use the promo code billboard when you go, you get 20% off. Normally, the base admission to zombie outbreak is $25. So if you use the code billboard and you tell them that, they knock off 20%, and it's $20. So I thought it was worth $20. It is open during the day, so if you need something to do during the day, you can. One mistake I made was doing this alone, because they give you a gun, or they give you an M16 or an M4, whatever the heck it is, show you how to use it, and then you only get a certain amount of bullets. Now, you can set it to a single shot or a 3-fire shot or whatever, and the zombies, just like true zombies, they've got little sensors on the head, so you have to shoot them in the head in order for them to die, I guess. And it's kind of like a super upgraded version of the zombie containment unit at Howl-O-Scream, but it's legit. I went through lots of set pieces. You go into different rooms with different zombies and all this stuff. Now, I did this thing alone, and by the end of it, I was panting. I was out of breath, because I'm as you shoot the zombies, they freeze for a few seconds, and then you move on. You want to clear the room and then move on. And as you go from room to room, you collect other zombies that are following you. So eventually, you have this very small horde of zombies that you're fending off as you're moving from room to room. And I got to the last room, and the last zombie, I shoot him, and I see other zombies coming for me. Thankfully, I saw the exit was there, because when I went to pull the trigger, it went click, 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 and I was out of bullets. So if that was a zombie movie, I would have been totally dead. Then again, I would have been totally dead anyways, because I'm not going to make it through a zombie movie, especially not technically zombies, but 28 days later, those are the fast zombies. I'm not going to survive in a fast zombie apocalypse. I'm sorry. So it's the end of this thing, and I'm out of my I'm out of breath here. A lot of fun. They offer you a discounted rate if you want to go and do it again, and I think there are levels to it. Final score, though, at the end, they do this to you. They're okay, they pull up your score, and hey, you were in there and you killed 28 zombies. Good. But you were bitten 4 times, and all it takes is once, so I would have died halfway through the thing. What I would recommend is, if you're going to do Zombie Outbreak, do this in a group, because when you're fighting all the zombies by yourself, no bueno. You need to have a team to cover you and stuff. So I would recommend...
It kind of sounds similar to, in the video game aspect of things, Left 4 Dead and Resident Evil. And then I know for a while I would play laser tag a lot over at Hard Knocks, and they actually had a zombie mission that you could play.
I think I've done that. It's been a moment since I've been to Hard Knocks at Point Orlando, at least. But I had fun. But if you get an opportunity, I think I got another picture in here. Let's see. Where are you? Here's me in front. I got like a little photo ops here, so here's a picture of this. Had a good time. Left a couple of business cards there. By the way, guys, if you haven't gotten one of the business cards for this year, you're missing out because they're really cool. So that's got all the information for HauntScene in the show. Let me know if you run into me at one of the haunts. I'll have some on me, I'm sure. But it was fun. So if you need something to do and it's daytime, look at their hours, make sure they're open, and go do Zombie Outbreak. I had a good time, but if I go back, I'm probably going to bring some folks with me. So, yeah. All right, so it's 9:02. Now, we did get started just a little bit late, so I'm going to go ahead and give a little preview for next episode. Now, on next episode, episode 7, because we're going to be doing this on this Saturday, we're going to be doing Chamber of Terror. Chamber of Terror is a haunt that is located on the U.S. American Victory. I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong. A merchant marine vessel. It's actually normally a museum that you would normally do, but they built a haunt into it this year. And the early word is it's pretty good. So I have had some conversations with the owner, Courtney. Thanks for involving me, and thanks for all the background info. You've been great. I cannot wait to do this. Like, holy crap! I cannot wait to do this haunt. I always really like it when I have something like brand new to do, and this is a completely new, unique experience that I've been looking forward to since I found out about it. So we'll have our official report for this next Tuesday. I can't wait to do it. So if you're going, we're going to go on Saturday. Let me know if you want to go. We're going to go out and do the Chamber of Terror on Saturday. I'm trying to go out a little bit early, get some daytime pictures of the ship, and see what I can get away with as far as camera stuff. But I can't wait to do it. Out of the entire season, it's the number one thing I've really been looking forward to. I mean, I look forward to everything, but I was like, this is completely unique. So I don't know the next time I'm actually going to be on a ship doing a haunt. Or as I like to say, I'm on a boat. So that's going to be fun. I'm on a boat. I'm already know. I know when I take a picture, if the HauntScene Instagram picture for next week, it's going to say I'm on a boat or something like that. So that's already going to happen. See, we got a question here. How many business haunts are how many episodes haunts are left? Loose plan, because we're starting to get into the midpoint of October. We're going to do Chamber of Terror this week on Saturday. We're going to do probably Catharsis. Catharsis is the by the people that do When Shadows Fall or Penumbra. So it's like a 30-minute horror theater experience. So I'm looking forward to that. That'll probably be the following Saturday, the 22nd. After that, I don't know. I don't know. There are a couple things I kind of want to do. Sometimes I like to go back to Howl-O-Scream. I've always wanted to do the Vault of Souls, so if I got any money left in my piggy bank, I might do that. Maybe I'll take out a second mortgage. I don't know. But I would really like to experience that because I do hear really good things about that. And it seems like it's more than a haunt. It's like an experience. It's like an all-night thing, so it might be worth the price tag.
If not, I know that some of the escape rooms, they have more the haunted or they have Halloween-based episodes.
Yeah, so we'll kind of see. I know what I'm doing the next 2 weeks, but we have the 29th. The original idea was to do 9 episodes, so the original idea was to have the last episode air on the 1st, which would be 3 weeks from now. However, the haunt season actually runs through a lot of haunts through the 5th this year, so we might do like a little recap or something like that. I haven't decided, but 10 is a nice round number, so probably. We'll see what our schedules are like. But all right, so that's an hour. It's 9:05, so apologies for getting the late start, guys. I can't help technical difficulties when they come up at the absolute last second. But I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Thank you guys for watching. Kira, anything to say?
It's one of those, I'm very sad that I missed out on Scream-A-Geddon, and all the pictures and everything from the website's really exciting. So hopefully I'll get a chance to experience it.
Yeah, well, they were nice enough because they understood that the night that we went out for the media preview, they understood that it was kind of rained out, so they did extend the ability for us to maybe come out again. So we may take advantage of that, especially because it's open on like Mondays and Tuesdays and stuff. So, but we are unfortunately, this is inevitable, getting to the halfway point or a little bit over the halfway point with the haunt season. So, balls to the wall. Just gotta get as much out of it as possible before the end of the season. That's when everything gets really, really sad. How do you spell the last one? Catharsis. 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 So, yeah. I've never done Penumbra or When Shadows Fall, so I'm actually looking forward to that. Ricky Brigante, I think, is the person that runs that. I've had a little email back and forth with him. So yeah. All right, guys, so we're going to go ahead and get out of here, but thank you guys for watching. If you're watching the replay, you missed all the fun that we had on the live show, so make sure you guys tune in at 8 o'clock on Tuesday nights. It's always the same link, live.hauntscene.com. Make sure you guys interact with us. I loved watching all the comments coming tonight, so thank you guys for watching. I'm going to go ahead and fire up the credits here, but until next time, I want you guys to spook easy.
And happy haunting.
See you guys later.
They're all saying we're haunted.